Israel and Iran are at war.
Iran has just launched a retaliatory missile attack targeting Israel.
I mean, is Iran close to going nuclear?
Iran, because the nuclear agreement was thrown out, instead of being at least a year away from having the breakout capacity of producing fissile material for a nuclear weapon, is now probably 1 or 2 weeks away from doing that.
No! We might be seeing the beginnings of World War III.
My country is at war, fighting for its life. We face savage enemies who seek our annihilation, and we must defend ourselves against these savage murderers.
There's so much news coming out of the Middle East that we are just getting flooded with tons and tons of stories and things that are happening with Iran, Hezbollah, Israel, of course, and there's just so much that is going on. So what exactly are we going to be looking at today? So Israel and Iran are at war, okay? We've seen the missiles that are being shot from Iran. So they're using ballistic missiles, drones, right? And they're using medium altitude missiles as well. Now, these 3 different missiles all have a very specific purpose, but Israel has the technologies to be able to intercept and destroy some of these missiles. Now, it's interesting because ballistic missiles, these are the ones that, Israel may be the only one that have this technology to be able to destroy these kind of missiles, right? These are very ballistic. That's what gives it the name, ballistic, okay? So when they get shot, they go straight up right into the stratosphere, right? And then as they reach that point, they come straight down at a very fast speed, right? It makes it really hard to destroy them, but Israel's technology called the Arrow is the one that is intercepting some of these rockets. Now we're seeing some of them hit Israel in various places because, and I believe that's intentional because they are allowing some of these missiles to hit in various places where there's not population or where it's an open field in order to probably save artillery. There's a lot of things that are just up in the air. We just don't know fully as to why that's happening. That could be one of the theories that is happening there. But we see so much that is happening. And Iran is not really one to attack directly from their country. This is the second time in this year where 2 sovereign nations are attacking each other from their own country, right? Iran, Israel, they're both going head to head, right? Iran usually operates in proxies. Now, proxies are from, Iran operates with proxies. Now, what that means is essentially they have people to fight on their behalf, armies or militias to fight on their behalf, right? They would use Hezbollah. They would also use Hamas, and they've also used the Yemeni Houthis, okay? These are the 3 main players that they would typically use to conduct their operations. Now, these operations have been infiltrated by the Mossad, okay? This is a very special, very secretive group that infiltrates and has infiltrated the Hezbollah regime and the Iranian regime, right? And the Hezbollah militia, along with Hamas, right? And they have been taking out key targets, such as top commanders, top ranking generals, ones that have conducted very intense terrorist attacks within Israel, within America. And a lot of these people had bounties on their head from America, right? Large bounties, up to 5 million plus. And so Israel has taken upon themselves to eliminate these threats because ultimately they are a threat to the nation of Israel, okay? Israel is not going anywhere. We know that from the book of Jeremiah. This is in chapter 31. We see that God actually talks about the ordinances in the sky, that as long as the moon and the stars are there, Jerusalem, Israel, will always be there. Now, if they depart from me, then Israel shall be, the seed of Israel shall depart from me also. Now, Israel's not going anywhere. We know this. Now, they are very technologically advanced with the weapons that they have to be able to defend their country. And also, not only that, they have the greatest weapon of them all. Not that he is a weapon, but they have God on their side. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We know that God will always protect Israel because Israel is the apple of his eye. They are the chosen people. Okay? Now, we know a lot of things that are just coming out right at the forefront. Okay? Back what I said about Israel and Iran being at war. Bibi was talking at a speech at the UN, right? He was making a speech at the UN and he was talking about Hezbollah, right? How there was going to be it's going to be bad for them. Okay. Immediately after the speech, we saw that Benjamin Netanyahu had made the call to strike the headquarters of Hezbollah, which actually ended up destroying their compound. And not only that, killing Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah. Very big news that broke out when that happened. And that really changed everything. We saw from the attacks of the pagers, the walkie-talkies, right? How they infiltrated these devices, right? To be able to implant charges in them, to destroy and disarm and to really dismantle Hezbollah from inside very tactically and very precisely. This is something that is, like everybody's saying, out of a James Bond movie. You don't see this type of warfare going on. This brings them to a whole new level of warfare. Now, from all of this may seem very tense. What are we going to do? What are we going to see in the coming weeks, right? Iran is close to becoming nuclear, right? The timeline is actually from yesterday, 2 weeks, that they will have a nuclear, missile ready to go. And should they have that, I believe they would fire it. Now, Biden is actually telling Israel not to strike the nuclear facility that they're using to work on this project. Now, why is that? Let's hear what they have to say here at Fox News on this very subject, because Biden is condemning it.
With regard to what President Biden said about discouraging an Israeli attack on nuclear sites within Iran, I mean, that is the ultimate threat that faces Israel. And do they see this as a window that cannot be missed to mitigate that threat and to try to take out those sites, General?
Well, Martha, I probably know as much about the Iranian nuclear program and the Iranian nuclear target as anybody in the world. That's a very large order to take out that program. If the Israelis wanted to do it, it would require vast expenditure of resources. It wouldn't be able to be done very quickly. It would be a long, hard slog. Can they do it? Possibly. I would think, actually, just speaking as a military observer, there are other more significant targets that you might want to undertake first as you calibrate your response to an attack against Israel that caused very few casualties and failed and actually had the effect, as I've noted earlier, of pushing Iran further and further against the wall and into a very lonely corner. So the nuclear program is certainly a target. There are other targets they could undertake. They might even choose to use restraint, although I would note that the restraint they used after the 13 April attack on Israel by Iran, Israelis fought back a couple of nights later with a very carefully sculpted, technologically impressive small attack. That didn't prevent the Iranians from coming back with the big attack of yesterday. So the Israelis have probably learned that lesson. So I suspect the Israeli response will be larger, probably much larger than what we saw in their response in April. As to who it's going to go against, all of the initiative, and I mean this absolutely, all of the initiative is with Israel right now.
So we know that they have a few targets that they could hit. Okay, this this condemnation by Biden to not attack that facility is absolutely erroneous. Okay. They need to do some kind of preemptive strike to prevent something like this from happening, because if something like that to happen, it's going to change the game for everyone, for everything. Okay. Iran would be capable of doing nuclear strikes wherever they would so choose. Now, I believe they would like to strike America if that were to be the case. Say if they struck America, right? And America was able to take out the nuclear bomb, the nuclear warhead in the atmosphere, right? Right over America. It would actually cause an EMP, okay? This EMP could set us back hundreds of years. No electricity, no water, okay? We would be basically set back to using, to surviving with basic essentials, right? Not a lot of people know how to survive in that manner. Now, that's quite certainly the case. We do know that this could escalate into something even further. Something I wanted to point out was Isaiah 17 talks about the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall become a ruinous heap. Now, is that something that happens in the coming weeks, in the coming months? I have no idea. But we are seeing such an escalation of war right now that is going to completely bring things to fulfillment of what we read about in the Bible. Now, something that I've been thinking about lately is Ezekiel 38. Now, Ezekiel 38 talks about a point in time where these nations will gather together against Israel. And Iran will be a part of this, but they will not be the leader of this. Now, in order to be at this point in time where Ezekiel talks about this coming war, the Gog and Magog leading this charge of armies to attack Israel and take the spoils, Israel needs to be at peace with dwelling without walls. Now we see that Israel is full of walls right now, of course, with Gaza, right? Judea, Samaria, the West Bank, as it's known. Israel needs to be in complete security, peace, right? Right now, they're not at peace. Okay? I think, I'm not going to make some big prediction, but where this is leading is there needs to be a complete change in leadership within Iran, where Israel may take out the leader of Iran, Khomeini, right? And whoever steps in next must want to at least make some kind of a deal to have peace. Because we know that Israel's not going anywhere. We know that Israel is going to completely destroy them. Netanyahu mentioned and told Iran that it was a big mistake with the missile attack, and they will pay for it. What does that look like? We have no idea, but Israel is very capable of doing whatever they need to do. They said, we will do this on our time and where we want to do this, right? They are going to attack and retaliate. It's just what's going to happen. They're not going to, Israel is known to not let it slide 100%. Okay, so how does this affect even everybody, right? Us here in America, wherever else. America is getting involved more and more in this Middle East war. We could potentially see World War III because of, I believe it's Article 5 in NATO, where we will go to war because we're forced into the war. America goes to war, we all go to war, right? If one of these nations attack America, of course. The nations outside of NATO. Could that be Iran? Could that be another country? Could that be Russia? We have no idea. We don't know what's going to happen in the coming months after this election. Things are uncertain, but I want to leave you with this, right? God is still on the throne. God is still in charge of everything. We must seek the Lord. We must pray and ask for his peace, because through all of this uncertainty, through all of this violence that is going on, of course, these things need to happen. We know that it's said to happen, right? According to Matthew 24, according to Revelation, things will get worse. But these things must come to pass. The end is still not yet. So we must occupy until he comes, right? We must be found putting our hands to the plow, that our master would come to find us working in obedience to his will, not our will. Things are getting more serious, and I want to make sure that I am sharing what I can with you guys to be able to be prepared and ready for the worst, but that we would stand boldly in the faith and not deny the name of Christ should persecution come to us, which it will at some point. Guys, I want to leave you with that. And if you guys have any questions or comments that you want to leave down below, please comment. Let me know. I'll be responding in the comments. And subscribe, like the video, share the video. Let's get this word out. Let's talk about this. Let's have an open conversation, because as this news breaks out and more stuff comes to light, we're going to see just everything unfolding. And the Middle East is God's time clock. So we must be paying attention to these things as everything unfolds. Guys, I thank you so much for being here. Follow me and wait until the next video, because things are getting hot and they're only going to get hotter. See you guys in the next one.